So I'm sitting here at a park bench in Chapultepec, Mexico City Park. And, we're starting off on this journey that we're going to go around the world. And, there's times when I wonder how we're going to even make this all possible. I mean, there's so many variables. And I don't know how to explain why I feel the need to do this. It's just something that I've always known I would do. And though parts of it seem extremely clear to me, there's lots of it that I don't have a clue. Like as of today is November 16th, 2022. The kids are playing. Oh, they love playing in these parks. But today's November 16th, 2022. We leave Mexico City November 23rd, so just in less than a week, and then we have like 2 intense days of travel. So we arrive in Madrid about 3 p.m. on November 24th. I have an Airbnb reserved for 2 days in Madrid. I don't know what we're going to do exactly after that. There's so many options, and what I would like to do is go to Morocco for a week. But the problem with going to Madrid, the problem with going to Madrid is that you got to get tested to go back into the country. And of course, with these COVID tests, anything can go wrong. They can get false negatives, false positives, blah blah blah, and it's just a way for people to make money off of you. And I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. We've traveled so many countries and have never had to do this. Traveled all over the United States, never had to do this. So retarded. But that being said, once we're in Spain and in the European Union, we're pretty much landlocked all the way to South Africa. In between Spain and South Africa, we have a bunch of countries we're going to visit. And probably won't have that many problems. It's just going to take time, and we just have to work through the visa issues in some of the countries, the cost, transportation. Some of the areas we want to go to, it's going to be a little bit more challenging, like Eastern Turkey and stuff. Going to see some of the stuff out in that area. But I did a trip like this in 2004, and I may have spoke about this in another video that I just haven't posted yet. But I had a friend, and we decided that we would go to Jerusalem for our great escape from the United States, right? And there was a lot of reasons for it. But when we decided that we wanted to go to Jerusalem, I had never done anything like that before. I had been in the military and had traveled with that a little bit, but that was always so easy. I'd been to the border towns in Canada and Mexico a few times, but I mean, that was so easy as well. There wasn't really anything involved in doing all that. So we started making our plans to go overseas, and we flew to Madrid. Same thing we're about to do. And the reason that we flew to Madrid then and are flying to Madrid now is because that's the least expensive place to land in Europe. And the way I think is that once you get me on the continent, then even if I have to walk, I'll get to wherever it is I want to go. So that's why we're going to Madrid. Oh, excuse me, I'm a little tired. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. So we landed in Madrid, but when we left the United States, we had worked for a few months up to that point and had saved up about $3,000. We had bought our tickets one way. We had got us a couple of backpacks. Had got all the equipment we needed or thought we needed, like a computer and sleeping bags and clothes and just all the stuff. We had no idea about traveling light and fast. So I was actually going to court over some theft of my property that the sheriff's department in Hays County, they had pulled me over because of my license plate being bent up from a trailer banging into it, and they arrested me because I had an expired registration sticker. So this was in 2002, and I fought this for like 2 years, and was getting nowhere with these people. They were determined to teach me a lesson, because their philosophical nonsense and my philosophical beliefs were so contrary to each other. And I was able to deal with these people for 2 years. But then whenever we decided to do this trip, I just agreed to pay court costs and do 6 months unsupervised probation, which I should have never agreed to that in hindsight. But I've gained a lot more knowledge about how the court systems work. As a matter of fact, I've recently, won full custody of my kids in family court, pro se, doing it all myself, and amongst other victories in the legal system. But this was a long time ago. Well, we had saved up like $3,000 for this trip to Europe, and the court fines, when it was all said and done, left us with like $150 when we left to Europe. So we were still determined to go, and so my friend and I, we hopped on the plane in Houston, and we took off to Madrid with $150 cash. And when we landed in Madrid, we changed that to euros, and it came out to about 100 euros. And we didn't know what to do. We didn't know where we were going. We just kind of had a general idea of what we wanted to do. So we took off out of the airport. We were walking, and it took us a while to figure out how to use the buses, but we finally figured that out. We rode a bus to Zaragoza. We spent the night in a hostel, and then we made it to Barcelona. And then from that point on, through a series of just God-inspired miracles, basically, we were able to continually have funds coming in, meeting the right people, staying in the right places, getting the best deals. The transportation was there. We basically went from Madrid to Barcelona. We took a boat from Barcelona to Genoa, Italy. We rode the train to Europe, to Rome, and then Rome to Brindisi. We crossed the Adriatic Sea to Greece and rode a train from Patras to Athens. Spent a few days in Athens, and then rode a train to Thessalonia, and then on to Istanbul. Spent a couple of weeks in Istanbul, then went to Ankara, and then all the way across the country to Salopi. Spent a few days in Salopi with a Kurdish family there. Crossed the border into Iraq. Once we got to Iraq, we met the right people, and this was under occupation. This was 2004, and the military of the United States had invaded in 2003, so it was in total chaos. We were basically able to get a ride in a car from the Turkey-Iraq border to Mosul. We spent one night in Mosul, and then we went from Mosul to the Jordanian border the next day. Crossed into Jordan, made it to Amman, got to the Dead Sea, spent a night at the Dead Sea, then crossed over to Israel, spent 2 weeks in Jerusalem. We actually hiked along the Dead Sea, hitchhiking, caught some rides up to Jerusalem. Spent 2 weeks in Jerusalem, and then got a bus to Cairo, spent 2 weeks in Cairo, and then money came in for us to fly back to the United States. I have no idea how all that happened, other than it got so predictable that everything was going to work out and be okay, that literally we would get to a new city and we'd just sit down on a bench and we'd be like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen, but someone's going to show up and we're going to know what to do. And that would happen time after time after time after time. The story has a lot more minutia and details and amazing things that happened, but using that as a reference point, I know that this trip that the kids and I are going on is going to be a bigger trip, but is going to be definitely provided for by the Holy Spirit and God. God is going to provide. The Holy Spirit's going to lead us. We are going to do an epic trip around the planet and show how the kingdom operates. So right now we're in Mexico City. This part of the trip has already been planned out for months, and we've had no bumps in the road just yet, and we're having a great time. But we got a few things coming up that we got to prepare for. I need a COVID test. We got to get into Europe, and then once we get to Madrid, we got to figure out which direction we're going. And I don't have the clarity or the word of knowledge just yet, but It's going to come.